What is up, all my kaiju friends and fans? This is Phil, the Kaiju King, from my collection room here in Greater Cincinnati. In this video, I'm doing my top 5 Godzilla films of the whole franchise. And it was not real hard for me, honestly, to come up with this. They're all pretty much show era, so just be warned of that. But I love all these films. I do have one honorable mention. And I love them all, and I came up with it in the last couple hours really thinking about it. So we'll go on to my honorable mention right now. All right, everybody, here is my honorable mention. It is the original Godzilla, Godzilla 1954, Gojira in Japanese terminology. This movie, we won't have no Godzilla movie if it wasn't for the success of this film and the significance of the beginning of Godzilla, the origins. This movie could very easily be in my top 5. I just remember as a kid all the Godzilla versus other kaiju battles, and that's why my list is built mostly pretty much with all those, actually. It's Godzilla versus my list. So, but this movie, we have none of it without the origin, the significance of the film, the message it carries about what humanity does to itself, and what it causes, what it can cause if they mess with Mother Nature. And Godzilla, or Gojira, was the result of man's stupidity with some atomic weaponry testing. It awoken Gojira, and he raised havoc until they found out that Dr. Serizawa had the remedy, which was the oxygen destroyer. But the movie is very significant because it started the whole thing, and I love the original film. It's a great film. And these are all X Plus figures, and they are all very nicely done figures. The Sakai is probably the most accurate. The Train Biter's more stylized, but it's really cool, actually. And of course, the original 54 30 centimeter. But this movie is great. These figures are great. If you've never seen it, I would highly recommend it. My honorable mention is Godzilla 1954. We will go on to my number 5 Godzilla movie of all time right now. All right, everybody, my number 5 Godzilla movie of my top 5 list is 1971's Godzilla vs. Hedorah, or Godzilla, also known as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. This was the first Godzilla movie where I thought to myself, Godzilla's going to lose. Hedorah put a smackdown whipping on Godzilla in this movie. And it was, basically to me, it began a series of 3 movies. No, 3 out of 4 movies. Hedorah, Gigan, and Mechagodzilla, where he took severe beatings, Godzilla did. Very severe beatings in all 3 of those films. If you think about a lot of the 70s films, he was a superhero Godzilla, but he was getting his butt kicked in a lot of them movies. But this movie, I love it. I know it's kind of funky and crazy and all that, but I love the design of Hedorah, the concept that he is from space, and then he manifests and feeds and becomes this creature because of our pollution that we've done to our Mother Earth, and we are helpless against him. And even for most of the movie, Godzilla is helpless against him without the help of the humans and the big panels that he uses his atomic breath on to dry Hedorah out. But Hedorah, I love the design of Hedorah. I like he has multi-forms, like the flying form here. It's just a very, very uniquely done creature, and he gave Godzilla one hell of a matchup. This is number 5 in my top 5 Godzilla movies, Godzilla vs. Hedorah. I'll move on to number 4 right now. Alright, everybody, I'm back. My number 4 Godzilla movie of all time is 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla. I like the whole theme and story of the movie. The story's pretty cool. The significance of Kong and Godzilla meeting in a movie, two biggest iconic monsters of all the giant kaiju monsters. That's to me the biggest significance of the whole film. I think their last battle at Mount Fuji is really good. Their first meeting, not so much. Didn't go so well for Kong, but in the end, he held account of himself rather well. And I do love the final battle at Mount Fuji. They really do get it on really good. It kind of saved the whole kaiju fighting in the film for me, because the first fight really wasn't much at all. But this is a great movie. I love it. It's so significant because it brought them together. And I can't wait to see it again the coming year. This is number 4 on my top 5 Godzilla movies. King Kong versus Godzilla. We'll move on to number 3 right now. Alright everybody, I'm back. Number 3 on my top 5 Godzilla movies list is Godzilla vs. Mothra from 1964. I know this is a perennial favorite of a lot of people, and it is a very good movie. The storyline in it is very well done. The Godzilla design is a perennial favorite to a lot of collectors. Actually, honestly, this design is 3rd on my top list for Godzilla designs. But I do love his design. Mothra is a very unique creature, and she's really nicely done, so colorful and everything. And the whole story of the movie is the giant eggs found, and the guy, the businessman, takes it and tries to make money from it, and then Godzilla turns up out of the ground, and he hence is to head straight for the egg. Of course, this awakens the adult stage Mothra, and she heads in to try to save her egg, but she is already in the process of dying, so she doesn't last very long. Godzilla hits her one good time with atomic breath, and that pretty much does her in. And of course, then the egg hatches, and it's actually twin larvae in there, and they go on to defeat Godzilla, or at least spray him down with all the silk, and then he falls into the ocean. I guess that's kind of a defeat. So, but the movie is very well done. The storyline's very well done. We see the introduction of Mothra against Godzilla, where they would fight many more times. So, but I do love the fights in the movie, and I also love Godzilla's fights against the military just as much against Mothra. He has some epic fights with the military in that movie. And this is number 3 on my top 5 Godzilla movies list, the Godzilla vs. Mothra from 1964. We'll go on to number 2 on my list right now. Alright everybody, here's my number 2 Godzilla movie of all time. Godzilla vs. Gigan from 1972. The battles in the movie are epic. Not only does Godzilla have to contest with old foe Ghidorah, new foe, and my favorite Godzilla adversary Gigan, but he has to contend with the Godzilla Tower, an imitation of himself. And it really does more than likely beat the crap out of him when Gigan and Ghidorah lower Godzilla close to the tower so they can hit him with all the laser beams from its mouth, and it just about does Godzilla in. I've said this before, but does Godzilla win this battle if the humans don't blow up the head of the Godzilla Tower? I don't know. I really doubt it. It didn't look good at all for him. He took a beat down, of course. Gigan's the first kaiju to make him bleed. And it's just a really great movie. I know it has some issues, but I love the design of Gigan. Really unique looking kaiju. I thought the Godzilla tower was really unique in the film. Of course, Godzilla's best bud is there. It's just lots of Anguirus, his best buddy. It's just filled with kaiju action, and it's great. And I am glad that Gigan gotten a couple more films, and I'm really hoping he makes it into a MonsterVerse movie if that continues beyond next year. But this is my number 2 Godzilla film of all time, Godzilla vs. Gigan from 1972. I will move on to number 1 right now. Alright everybody, here's my number 1 Godzilla movie of all time, my favorite Godzilla movie, 1974's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla was a badass, pardon my French, in this film. He really took it to Godzilla and his partner, King Caesar. Just think of that. Mechagodzilla was 2-on-1, and he almost defeated them both. He pretty much had King Caesar done for till Godzilla showed up, and then he put the whooping on Godzilla and King Caesar at the same time, and he did this to Godzilla, bludgeoned him to death, and just a really good movie. Love the concept of a Mechagodzilla. Love the fight. I love the disguise at the beginning of the film when you think it's Godzilla, but it really isn't. It's Mechagodzilla and the imposter Godzilla. It's him in disguise. It's just really well done movie. I like the story of it with the crazy science fiction with the space aliens and all that. And there's a lot of Godzilla movies like that. But the battles between Mechagodzilla and Godzilla and King Caesar, even the first battle at the refinery area, it's even very well done. Not as long as the final battle, but it's very, very well done. It's the epic reveal of Mechagodzilla when he blasts him with his atomic breath and as this form, and he reveals himself as this. It's just really cool and iconic when you see that as a young kid, and then you see this later on in the movie, what Mechagodzilla does to Godzilla, and you just think this was another movie where I thought Godzilla was done for. But thankfully he pulled it out in the end. But this movie is really awesome. I love it. I love the whole storyline in it. I love the alien concept of them trying to take over the Earth with a robot form of Godzilla. It's just really, really nicely done. And I love King Caesar. I don't have a 30 centimeter King Caesar, but I will hope to have one sooner than later from X Plus. I also have one commissioned, a 30 centimeters, so eventually I'll have one. But this is my number 1 movie of all time. Favorite Godzilla movie, 1974, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. I want to thank everyone for tuning into my channel today. This is Phil, the Kaiju King, from my collection room in Greater Cincinnati, and you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.